Claire is a nurse tormented by her supervisor as she tries to get a promotion. She gets trapped in an elevator and meets Luke Taylor, who later pretends not to know her at the hospital, confusing her feelings. Claire has her best friend Serena, who is a dancer. Claire works as a nurse at the hospital, dealing with very thematic clients, while her friend and hospital colleague advises her to enjoy life more since her boss Lila treats her poorly and stresses her out. On a special night, Claire goes to watch her friend dance, but the elevator lights go out, leaving her trapped with others. Claire has to calm down a waiter who suffers from claustrophobia, but she ends up enjoying the company of another guy also trapped there named Luke. The performance ends, but they remain stuck. Claire and Luke strike up a great conversation and immediately feel a strong connection, despite being trapped. When they manage to open the elevator and turn on the lights, they both exit without seeing each other's faces, but they felt a beautiful connection. The hospital welcomes a new member, Dr. Luke Taylor, who turns out to be the person Claire was trapped with in the elevator. Claire is a great nurse who takes excellent care of her patients. Many nurses flirt with Dr. Taylor when he arrives, and when Claire speaks to him harshly, he brushes her off immediately. Though Claire recognized Luke from the elevator, he doesn't remember her at all. Despite his initial brusque treatment of Claire, Luke is kind and respectful to others and knows how to relate to people. Claire's colleague suggests she apply for head nurse, but she's reluctant. He submits the application for her, and Luke apologizes to Claire for his earlier behavior, explaining he didn't know how to handle the nurses flirting with him. Lila finds out Claire applied for the head nurse position and harasses her, not even letting her eat in peace. She assigns Claire to deal with a difficult patient who others struggle with, blaming Claire for not knowing how to handle patients. Just as Claire was about to finish her shift, Lila calls her back to cover more hours. She attends to Mrs. Goffrey, a special client at the hospital, and Dr. Luke arrives to treat her growing tumor, which threatens her life. Mrs. Goffrey suggests to Luke that he should date Claire, advising him not to let someone special slip away. The hospital janitor, Luke's friend, agrees he should take care of Claire. Luke is enchanted by the woman from the elevator, but due to privacy policies, he can't get any information about her, despite being captivated by her without ever seeing her face. Mrs. Goffrey encourages Claire again to go out with Luke, and they strike a deal where Claire reads about chemotherapy treatments in exchange. Luke approaches Claire and reveals the deal he made with Mrs. Goffrey to ask her out. They enjoy some time outdoors and get to know each other a little better. Claire is a nurse because of her mother. Luke comes up with the brilliant idea of hiring a theater catering service, and we'll see what he proposes. Meanwhile, Claire attends to the problematic patient, but Mrs. Goffrey overhears everything and advises him not to mistreat Claire, suggesting that being miserable is a personal choice. Luke opens up more to Claire, revealing that he made a bad decision in the past that left a patient paralyzed, although it wasn't his fault. He blames himself because he was the one who had to care for the patient. Claire seeks love advice from Serena, as she's starting to imagine there might be something between her and Dr. Luke, but she's unsure if he sees her as a romantic interest or just a colleague. Dr. Luke attends to Paige as her infection spreads, while Lila treats Claire like her servant. The previously problematic patient, Mr. Samuel, starts treating Claire better and becomes kinder towards her. Luke and Claire are becoming the best companions and friends in the hospital. Well, Luke is new, so Claire is becoming his new best colleague. Luke is called back to the hospital as Paige's condition worsens, but it turns out to be a false alarm. Her mother was upset because she was demoted at work. Meanwhile, Luke continues investigating the ballet company to see if anyone knows the woman from the elevator. Luke's other best friend is the janitor. Mr. Samuel bonds more with Claire and confides that he's deteriorating, but Luke doesn't pay much attention as he's called by the catering company to inquire further. He discovers that someone in the cast gave the elevator woman a ticket. Luke reviews Mr. Samuel's file and apologizes to Claire for not listening to her, as they've discovered the patient's diagnosis. Luke grows closer to Claire and shows her his painting room, his hobby. Unbeknownst to them, they are creating their own recipe for love and building a strong foundation of friendship, though Luke still doesn't realize she's the girl from the elevator he's been trying so hard to find. Their closeness deepens, but Luke apologizes for kissing her and confesses he likes someone else. He confides in his friend that he can't stop thinking about the other woman, as their conversation touched his heart. But if you search for something, you never find it. It's worth giving up something for. Luke searches for the ballerinas to see if any of them know Claire, but Serena arrives late to rehearsal and misses Luke's inquiries. Mrs. Goffrey notices the discomfort between Luke and Claire. That night, everyone prepares for the hospital dance, but Claire has to stay and work. Mrs. Goffrey teams up with the janitor, Mr. Samuel, and Paige to help Claire, informing her she will attend the party. Her colleague also arrives to cover for her, so she can go to the party. The janitor tells Claire that Dr. Luke is a good person who has feelings for her, but he's obsessed with another person he met at a dance performance. Claire realizes she's the girl Luke is searching for and decides to get dolled up for the party, avoiding her boss to prevent chaos. Lena catches her, but this time Claire ignores her, finally finding Dr. Luke. Claire confronts him, confessing her feelings, but Lena interrupts, accusing Claire of flirting with Luke for a better job evaluation and promptly firing her. Luke tells Claire to leave, not letting her speak, which devastates her. Serena encourages Claire to take action and risks, urging her to confront Lena and tell Luke the truth. The next day at the hospital, Claire says goodbye to her patients. Lena offers to return to normal, but Claire decides to leave the hospital for good. Mrs. Goffrey calls Luke foolish for hurting Claire, and Serena vows to support Claire always. Mr. Samuel asks a doctor about Claire and gets angry to learn she's no longer there, calling Lena a demon who doesn't care about patients. Dr. Frederick contacts Claire, admitting they made a mistake firing her because Lena doesn't really do anything. Paige bids farewell to Dr. Luke, revealing she's a dancer and that Claire gave her a ticket to a performance. She tells the story of being trapped in an elevator when she went to see a show. Luke immediately realizes Claire is the woman he's been searching for all this time. Realizing his mistake, Luke tries repeatedly to contact Claire, but she rejects every call. He sends Claire a painting as an apology. Serena advises Claire to go, as she still misses him a lot. They meet again, and Luke apologizes for allowing others to change his opinion of her. He admits he was foolish, stupid, an idiot, but that's in the past. He regrets being a fool because he's fallen in love with her, only to realize both women are the same person. They finally cook up a beautiful love story, and Claire returns to the hospital, now as the new head nurse, relegating Lena to patient care, something she hadn't done in years. Now, Claire is alongside the love of her life.